Scorpio, don't scroll past this. This isn't just another Zodiac reading, and it's not here to flatter your ego. This is a love letter from the divine, written in the language of your soul. If you have ever felt too intense, too deep, too much for this world, I want you to hear this very clearly. God did not make you this way by accident. There is a reason your energy feels different, heavier, deeper, and more magnetic than most. There is a reason you keep walking through fires that would break other people, and yet somehow you rise again. In this moment, as you listen, there is a higher hand on your shoulder whispering, "Listen closely. This part is about you." Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through 10 divine reasons why God holds a special affection for Scorpio souls. And as you hear them, something in you will quietly say, "That's me. That's why I've always been this way." The first reason God has a special love for you is your sacred relationship with rebirth. While others talk about starting over, you live it. Life has asked you to die and be reborn many times, through heartbreak, loss, betrayal, endings that felt like they cut you in half. And yet, in the ashes of those seasons, you don't just rebuild the same life. You emerge as someone wiser, stronger, more spiritually awake. This phoenix energy is not random. It mirrors the divine pattern itself: death, resurrection, renewal. When everything falls apart, God knows you are one of the rare souls who will not stay buried under the rubble. You go down into the underworld of your own pain, you meet your shadows face to face, and somehow you come back carrying light for others. Heaven looks at that and says, that's one of mine." The second reason is your intuition. So sharp, so deep, it often scares you before it scares others. You don't just read faces, you read energy. You notice what people don't say, the silence between their words, the flicker in their eyes when something isn't honest. Long before a situation plays out, you often feel it in your body. That sudden heaviness in your chest, the knot in your stomach, the quiet voice that says something is off here. This isn't just a personality trait, it is a spiritual instrument. For many Scorpios, intuition is one of the main ways God speaks. Through nudges, dreams, unexplainable knowing. When you listen to that inner voice, you are not being dramatic. You are honoring the divine frequency you were born tuned to. And because of that, you often stand at crossroads where your intuition pulls you one way, while logic and other people pull you another. Each time you choose that inner whisper, heaven smiles, because you are choosing to trust the path your soul agreed to before this lifetime even began. The third reason God loves Scorpio so deeply is your capacity for fierce, unwavering loyalty. When you decide someone is your person, a friend, a partner, a family member, you do not love them halfway. You love with your full soul. You remember details others forget. You protect people in rooms they don't even know their name is being spoken in. You pray for them, worry for them, celebrate their victories like they're your own. This kind of loyalty is rare in a world addicted to convenience and temporary connections. It reflects the divine heart, a love that doesn't vanish when things get hard, a love that stays even when it has every reason to walk away. Yes, sometimes this loyalty has broken your heart. Yes, there were times you fought for people who did not fight for you. But even then, your capacity to keep your heart from turning to stone, to still believe in real love, is one of the most beautiful proofs that God's fingerprints are on your spirit. The fourth reason has to do with your relationship with truth. Many people say they want the truth, but spend their lives hiding from it. You are different. You came into this world wired to sense what is real and what is fake, even when it hurts. You can feel when something is rotten underneath a pretty surface, whether it's a relationship, a system, or even your own habits. And when the truth finally breaks through, you have the courage to look at it. That doesn't mean it's easy. It means you are willing to go through discomfort in order to live honestly. This courage to confront uncomfortable truths is sacred. The divine loves hearts that are willing to say, "Show me what is real," even if it changes everything. Because only with that kind of honesty can real healing, real transformation, and real purpose unfold. God trusts Scorpio souls with deeper truths because you don't run from them. You wrestle with them until they become wisdom. The fifth reason is your alchemy, the way you turn pain into power and wounds into wisdom. You don't just suffer, you study your suffering. You ask, what is this teaching me? What is this trying to break off of me? Who am I becoming through this? And because of that, the very experiences that were meant to shatter you often become the foundation of your greatest strength. You become someone who can sit with others in their darkest nights without flinching. You can look into someone's eyes when they say, "I don't think I can survive this," and gently answer, "I know that feeling, and I promise there is life after this." God loves this about you, because your life becomes a living testimony that no pain is wasted when it's surrendered to a higher purpose. Your scars are not evidence that you were abandoned. They are evidence that you walked through the fire and did not walk out alone. The sixth reason is your ability to see beyond masks. Scorpio, you rarely fall in love with the facade. You fall in love with the soul underneath. You notice the small tremor in someone's voice, the way their eyes dim when they talk about certain topics, the way their energy shifts when they're not being fully themselves. It's not that you're suspicious by default. It's that you are spiritually nearsighted. You can't help but see beneath the surface. This gift protects you, even when it doesn't feel like it. There were moments when you felt isolated because you could see what others refused to see. You felt too sensitive, too intense, or too serious because your spirit recognized truth long before it became obvious. But from a divine perspective, this is visionary sight. God can place you in complex situations, in complicated relationships, and know that over time you will discern what's really going on. This is why you often become the one people turn to when the illusions finally break. You were already there, quietly waiting, with the truth in your hands and compassion in your eyes. The seventh reason God holds you so close is your spiritual magnetism. You may not always see yourself this way, but your energy calls out to broken hearts, wandering souls, and people who feel misunderstood. Strangers open up to you within minutes. Friends confide in you things they've never told anyone. People feel safe in your presence, even when you say very little. This is not random. Your aura carries the vibration of someone who has walked through dark valleys and found a way to keep their heart alive. People can sense that. On a spiritual level, many Scorpios agreed to be lighthouses in this life. You don't chase people to heal them, but your very presence becomes a soft landing place for those who have nowhere else to exhale. God loves using you as a quiet shelter for exhausted souls, and every time you sit with someone in their pain, listening deeply instead of judging, you are doing sacred work, often without even realizing it. The eighth reason is your intensity. In a world where distraction and numbness are normal, your feelings arrive in full color. You don't just like, you adore. You don't just dislike. You reject what is misaligned with your spirit. You don't halfway commit. When you decide to show up for a dream, for a person, for a calling, you bring your whole being. This intensity can scare people who are used to lukewarm connections, but from a divine perspective, it is a powerful flame. It is the same energy that, when directed toward healing, can break addictions, shatter generational patterns, and pull you out of situations that would trap others for a lifetime. God doesn't look at your intensity and say, "Too much." God looks at your intensity and says, "If this one learns to aim that fire in the right direction, they will change lives." Your work in this lifetime is not to dim your intensity, but to refine it, so it burns away what is false instead of burning you out. The ninth reason is your natural attraction to the mysteries of existence. While many people avoid topics like death, the afterlife, spiritual warfare, karmic patterns, soul contracts, and the deeper meaning of suffering, you are drawn to them. You feel instinctively that life is more than bills and routines and surface comfort. Something in you has always known, even as a child, that there is a hidden layer behind everything. Behind coincidences, behind repeated patterns, behind the people who show up at strange times. This curiosity isn't morbid, it is sacred. It means your soul is wired for depth, for meaning, for spiritual truth. Because of that, God can whisper to you through symbols, dreams, synchronicities, déjà vu, and you will notice, you will ask, "What is this trying to tell me?" rather than brushing it off. That openness allows heaven to guide you more intricately, to place you in exactly the right encounters at exactly the right time. Your life becomes a kind of living parable, ordinary on the outside, but full of hidden meaning underneath. The 10th reason, perhaps the most beautiful of all, is your ability to keep loving after you've been broken. Scorpio, you know what it is to have your trust shattered, your loyalty betrayed, your heart mishandled. You know what it is to vow, in a moment of deep pain, "Never again, I will never open like this again." And yet, over time, somehow you do. Maybe more slowly, maybe more carefully, but you still choose love. You still choose to care deeply. You still find yourself praying for people who hurt you, blessing people who will never say thank you, and hoping for genuine connection in a world that often feels shallow. That is not weakness. That is divine resilience. It is the kind of courage that mirrors God's own heart, a love that refuses to let darkness define it. Heaven looks at that and says, no matter how much this soul has endured, they still believe in love. How can I not pour even more love over a heart like that? As you hear these reasons, maybe part of you feels a little emotional, a little seen, like someone just quietly described the parts of you you've never had the words for. That's not an accident. There is a reason you found this message at this exact moment in your journey. Maybe you've been feeling misunderstood, too intense, too exhausted from carrying so much. Maybe you've been wondering if your life has any larger spiritual purpose, or if your pain is just random. Hear this clearly. You are not random. You are not a mistake. You are not too much. You are a carefully crafted soul with specific gifts, depth, intuition, loyalty, truthfulness, alchemical strength that are deeply needed on this planet right now. And yet, as powerful as this message may feel, let it sit in your heart in a gentle way. Think of these 10 reasons not as rigid doctrines, but as a spiritual love letter, a reflection of what might be true for many Scorpio souls. This is a contemplative journey, a story the soul can lean into, not a strict map that must fit every detail of your life. If certain parts resonate, hold them close and let them encourage you. If some parts don't feel like you at all, it's perfectly okay to let them float away like clouds passing through a sacred sky. Every spirit walks its own path with God, and no video, no voice, no interpreter of energy can ever replace your own direct relationship with the divine or the guidance of wise, qualified support when you need it. I let this be a mirror, not a command. A soft reminder that you are allowed to see yourself as loved, guided, and chosen for something meaningful, even if you're still figuring out what that is. If as you listened your heart stirred, your eyes welled up, or a quiet peace settled over you, take a breath and honor that. Maybe whisper to yourself, I am not alone. I am loved in ways I don't fully understand. That simple affirmation strengthens the bridge between your human self and your higher self, between your everyday life and the divine current moving underneath it. And if this message feels like it was meant for you, Scorpio, you can anchor it more deeply by affirming it out loud or in the comments. I accept the divine love over my life. I choose to rise, to heal, and to live as the soul God created me to be. In the end, this isn't about being a perfect Scorpio. It's about remembering that even in your messiest moments, especially in your messiest moments, you are still held, still guided, and still deeply, fiercely loved.